Welcome to this explainer. You know, if you've ever felt that absolute pit in your stomach when you check your bank account, or if you've ever thought, man, no matter how hard I work, I just cannot seem to get ahead, well, let me tell you right now, you are definitely not alone. Today we're unpacking exactly why so many of us are struggling, and we're going to validate that financial anxiety once and for all.
Okay, let's dive into this. 79%. That is the staggering portion of Americans who are currently experiencing real financial stress. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. If you're feeling the squeeze right now, you aren't some statistical anomaly. You are literally the vast majority. It's happening all around us, to our own families and to our friends' families.
To really understand the gravity of this, we need to break down what that stress actually looks like day to day. Exactly half the country is living paycheck to paycheck right now. That means they are just one missed pay cycle away from a full-blown crisis. Add to that the 62% of people who are dragging credit card debt from month to month. But, perhaps the most alarming realization, 37% of Americans have already maxed out their cards entirely. We are, without a doubt, living in the absolute depths of a modern debt crisis.
And it brings up this deeply painful irony, right? We live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, yet money problems just seem to be a constant shadow for us. We work incredibly hard our entire lives only to retire poor. We sacrifice absolutely everything for our kids, giving them whatever we possibly can, only to watch them graduate carrying a massive anchor of student debt. Debt has literally just become our way of life.
So what is actually going on here? Why is this happening? Well, a huge missing piece of the puzzle is that school never actually taught us how to manage money. We were never taught how to balance a checkbook or how to read a basic financial statement. And because of that massive gap, we've essentially become active spenders in our day-to-day lives, but passive savers for our future. We stick our insurance policies in a drawer, cross our fingers, or we toss money into a 401k just hoping somebody else figures it out, mostly because reading a prospectus feels like trying to read ancient Latin. We simply don't know what we don't know.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this lack of financial education collided terribly with a highly turbulent new millennium. I mean, the past 2 decades have been a total roller coaster. Back at the turn of the year 2000, we had the dot-com bubble bursting, which sent the stock market into freefall. Just a year later, the tragedy of September 11th ushered in extreme short-term market volatility. Fast forward to 2008, the world experienced the Great Recession, and then, just as things were finally recovering, 2020 hit us with a global pandemic. These are relentless, once-in-a-generation macroeconomic shocks happening one right after another, just continually wiping out any sense of stability.
The economic fallout from these repeated shocks has obviously been devastating. Families faced massive job losses, entirely depleted savings, and wiped out home values. We saw a huge wave of bankruptcies and foreclosures. Ultimately, millions of people were forced to completely rethink their financial priorities just to survive in a brand new, highly uncertain landscape.
Fascinatingly, though, this struggle looks very different depending on when you were born. The evolving labor market has created entirely unique financial hurdles for each specific generation. Take baby boomers, for example. 10,000 of them turn 65 every single day, yet many remain totally unprepared for retirement after going through all those repeated market crashes. Then you have Generation X, the sandwich generation, who are squeezed incredibly tight between raising their own kids and funding their aging parents. And finally, Millennials, who are just trying to navigate a deeply globalized, highly automated economy.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the hurdles facing millennials, who, by the way, have now surpassed boomers as America's largest living generation. These hurdles are completely unprecedented. The labor market is actively shifting overseas where labor costs are lower. And right here at home, advanced software is replacing traditional roles so incredibly fast that human skills just can't keep pace. Because of this, an entire generation is often forced to settle for lower-skilled jobs and temporary employment.
To understand how we even accepted this precarious position in the first place, we have to take a look back. Post-World War II, there was a really comfortable safety net. The formula was simple. Go to a good college, get a good degree, find a good job, and when you finally retire, your union or your company took care of you. Saving wasn't always a desperate priority because, honestly, you were covered. But moving into the 1980s and 90s, that safety net vanished. It was totally replaced by incredibly easy access to loans and credit cards.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the culture totally pivoted to a brand new mantra, spend now and pay later. Consumer debt absolutely soared. Debt transitioned from being a rare, absolute emergency measure to our new normal. From college student loans straight into credit cards, car loans, and massive mortgages, we effectively replaced the old post-WW2 safety net with a lifetime of aggressive borrowing.
But hey, here is the good news. And honestly, it's exactly why we are breaking all of this down in our explainer today. We can change this. It starts with ending that passive dependence once and for all. Next, we have to learn the actual rules of money, which frankly are not nearly as complicated as Wall Street wants you to think they are. Finally, we take proactive control. Once you cross that gate into real financial knowledge, securing your family's future becomes entirely doable.
So the crucial point is, it all comes down to one very important question. Who is actually going to take care of your financial future? I really want you to think about that for a second, because the reality is nobody is more interested in your success than you are. Not the government, not your employer. It is entirely in your hands. So what steps are you going to take today to start building your solid financial foundation?